I'm knock on wood, I've been doing it for, 40 years. And, it doesn't matter who it is. I did one through Zoom last year, to give you an idea, which is a little scary because when they're in my presence, I know they're not going anywhere I can handle it. But in Zoom, they could just close the computer and then what the hell happens, right? If they got freaked out in the middle. I have a partner in this process, Chloe Madonis, who's, every 5 years, psychiatrists and psychologists around the world gather and pick the top 10 people representing their field. And for the last 30 years, she's been in the top 10. So she's made films of all my work. And now therapists get continuing education credits to continue to certify themselves by studying these. So we're training people to do this. So it's not just happening in my seminars or Date with Destiny.
I'm assuming this comes back to the triangle, but what are you looking for? Like, do you have to first understand the story that they're telling themselves to help them unwind that? Like, when you're trying to dig into that, what are you looking for to leverage, to narrow the walls, to get them moving in a direction?
I'm listening for something that they value more than their pain, or I'm trying to dig to find where that is. But I first try to figure out, like, if you think we all have a life story, right? Some people's life is a warning. Some people's life is an example. If your life's a warning, it still can become an example if you're alive, right? You have that choice. That's the greatest story of all time, the comeback story, right? So what I'm looking for is what's their story? And the story is driven by, number one, what's their desire? If you go to a movie, read a book, in the first few minutes, the main character, you'll discover what their desire is. Is it to merge with God? Is it to find a great relationship and have children? Is it to free themselves from being enslaved? Whatever it is, there's a driving desire. And then there's always, as soon as you have a desire, there's a problem, right? Because otherwise you'd have your desire. And the problem usually is character pieces missing within yourself. You're being selfish. You're not giving enough. You're not creative enough. You're not trusting enough, something enough. And then as you go through the story of a person's life, what happens is they come up with a plan. And there's always, the phrase, if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans, right? So it's like the plan doesn't work. You end up having battles, and the battles invariably are with external enemies, with intimate enemies. Like, who can hurt you more? The person you don't know or the person you love who seems to have betrayed you? And then there's the internal enemy, the conflicts within yourself. And as you fight through those battles, if you continue to grow, you come to a point where you have insights. You see what the real truth is. It isn't somebody else, it's me. This is what needs to shift. And if you see that and act on it, kind of jump through the opening, so to speak, then life's never the same again, or life is happily ever after, as it says in every story, right? Because you've made a shift in the core values and beliefs and emotions that are driving your life. So I look at it that way. I'm looking to see what's their story. And you want to change your life, change your story. Are they playing the position of the pawn? Are they the position of the king? Are they court jester, right? Are they the martyr? What is the role they're playing? What's the story they're telling themselves? And then I dig for something they value more. So, for example, the woman that was going to take her life and already given up all her stuff, in a few seconds of talking with her, she mentioned something about her father who had just died. And so I asked her a little bit about her father. Both her father and mother had just died. She'd gone through sexual abuse, and her brothers and sisters didn't want to talk about it. And as a result, they were estranged from her. And so she felt she had no friends, no anything, suffering financially and in a lot of physical pain. So all these things happening at once, people say, guess what? Dying would be easier than living, which is not true. But if you believe it, you try to take your life. So as I dug in about her father, he grew up in the Depression, and he was extraordinary. And I could just see the respect and love for her father. So as I had her tell me these stories, and I said, well, how did he do that during that time when he had no money and people were jumping out of buildings? And I go deeper and deeper, and it's like, well, he just valued this, and he learned from his father, and he never forgot these certain core lessons. And I said, that's interesting. And I said, and what core lessons did you get from your father? And gradually I started to find where the resources were. Why is she not going to kill herself? What's the leverage that I can use to get her to shift? And then you can watch this emotional transformation happen over about 45 minutes until it was so unbelievably emotional and complete. At the end, it's like, no, I'm never going to take my life. I can't take my life. I'm not taking my life. And she starts to rebuild things. So
really fast, I want to push in on that. So was it that what you were uncovering is that through her dad, she could see meaningful values that she already resonated with, and then it was about getting her to transpose those values from you're putting them on your dad, but you can value those same things in yourself. Now you have a chance to live up to those values, which will help you change your story and your sense of identity